everybody. I'm Sophia Parola with the Garden State Film Festival, and here with me is Stephen Lifshey, the filmmaker who has made Life on Pause, short film that is accepted into Garden State Film Festival. Stephen, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are all you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk to you about Life on Pause because it is so enjoyable. I laughed. I loved it. I can't wait to pick your brain. But before we do, I'd love for you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself and Life on Pause.
Sure. Well, my name's Steve Lifshey. I'm a director and an editor. In addition to making films, I also work as an editor at A&E and Showtime and Food Network and that kind of thing. So I put a lot of like editing kind of thinking into my filmmaking and kind of vice versa. Life on Pause is about a 1980s era uh, videographer who's still smitten with his college crush, and he thinks he can kind of win her love with his totally awesome camera skills.
Wonderful synopsis. I'm so happy I asked you to talk about yourself because it sounds like you're very successful working for Showtime A&E. Congratulations
Well,
on
thank you.
that. But I'd love to talk to you about Life on Pause. So first off, where did you find the inspiration about this film and this specific character? Is it kind of personal stories or just fun?
Yes, it's a very personal story. I was a 1980s wedding videographer. So, without giving anything away, the biggest problem that happens to Adam, the main character, also in reality happened to me, which was the end of my wedding videographer career. But it stuck with me to such a degree that it inspired the writing of actually a full-length screenplay. That's an interesting thing about the story, is that the full-length screenplay came first, many years before the short. So this short is actually a proof of concept that was made to try to promote the feature. So the feature story came first, and then I had to whittle it down into the 14-minute short.
Wow. And what was that process like, especially being the writer of that and having this story so close to you? How was cutting that down to a short film? And do you still hope to make the feature film?
I definitely do. Yes. Yeah, definitely working towards that. Very interesting in that the short really is doing what it's supposed to do, in that there were some producers who were interested in the feature, but not necessarily with me as a director until they saw the short, and then their opinion actually changed, and now they are interested. So it actually, so it really was great to do. And as far as your other question, paring it down, it was a little bit tricky because there's a lot of storylines and even main characters that just would not fit into that short length of time that does in the feature. The feature has, I guess you would say, a little bit more of a storybook ending. This one has a little bit more of kind of a empowerment, go Adam ending. The feature probably would have people leaving with more of like a warm oh yeah feeling, and this is like kind of like a punchline ending.
Mhm.
But there was just no way of working in the full story, and I didn't want it to be like a promo. I wanted it to be a full story in and of itself that had its own world, so it didn't necessarily need to match exactly. It just needed to be good and representing those characters.
Wow, that's amazing and so inspiring for other filmmakers and myself who just want imagine a whole movie, but I would never think to like make something into a short film and kind of shop that around. That's such a great idea.
Yeah.
And like you said, it definitely is a story in and of itself.
Yeah.
So this was such a fun, I loved the energy, a comedic piece, and so much of that comedy, yes, was on the script, I'm sure, but it had to do with the editing and the actors. So
Yeah.
as the writer and director and editor, did you imagine everything that the film ended up being while you were writing it? Like, was that all on paper? The music, the editing,
Pretty
beforehand?
pretty much. I knew that I wanted in terms of the music. I knew that I wanted to have that kind of music. And what I did was I actually downloaded tons of like real 1980s synth like music just from the internet, edited it exactly how I wanted it, and then I gave that to a composer and I said, do I want it to sound just like this? So
Wow.
that way it was a real easy way to communicate rather than try to describe it. As an editor, I was able to say, I want this, but of course, more everything more consistent and better and going along with the story. As far as editing, everything was very carefully storyboarded. And one great thing about directing as an editor and knowing that I'm going to be editing the piece is that you can work in a very smart way on the set in that there are times that you just need to keep that camera rolling because you're going to need a lot more. And there's other times that I know, you know what, we can stop right now because I know for sure I don't need anything else here. We don't need to waste time on this. So you can kind of like picture the whole idea of fix it in post is it's kind of like, well, I am post. So
Right.
if I make a mistake, I'm going to be the one answering for it. So I'm always thinking about editing while I'm shooting.
Wow, that's a wonderful quality. And I would love to ask you about the time period this is set in. You said the 80s.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you achieve that with the footage, with the media, with the costumes? Like, what went into that?
Well, in terms of the costumes, it was simply a matter of going to a costume shop and saying I wanted 80s. Makeup, hair. I got a makeup artist who was very experienced with the 1980s look, and we had photos from the 80s, and I said, try to match this, try to match that. I also kind of let her do her thing, and she did great. And because it's low budget, I shot in locations where I didn't have to, put 1980s cars in there. There was nothing in, and in terms of all the interiors, I filled it with like 1980s telephone images like of movie posters. I tried to either fill it with things that were specifically 80s or things that could be any time period.
Wow.
And then
And
and the slang as well, and a lot of the actors, since it's a very the characters are all very young, they had fun like embodying a time period that they're not from. So
yeah,
yeah,
that everyone tries to kind of
yeah,
like recreate now. I feel like everyone wishes they're from the 80s or the 90s, you know?
yes, yeah.
So, speaking of actors, where did you find this wonderful cast? You had a lot of actors in there, but especially your lead who plays Adam. Where did you find them?
Backstage.
Mm,
But I really, really, really worked it in that I kept reposting the ad maybe about 5 times. I went through hundreds of audition tapes, and I just kept pushing it and pushing it. Amazingly, for the two other leads, Trevor and Valerie, I knew Trevor was of all that whole process I just told you about.
mhm.
He was on Backstage the very first person who sent me an interview tape, the very first person who responded.
Wow.
And so I've been living with these characters for years and years, right? And I thought, okay, I'm going to begin this process. I get one thing in my inbox. That's all that's there. I open it up, and it was, oh my God, that's Trevor. How is that possible? How is that possible? And so of course, I did many other auditions just to confirm I was right, and I was. So that was amazing. And same thing with Jackie, who plays Valerie. That took a couple of rounds but as soon as she came on the screen, when I wrote to her, I was nervous. All right, because she was so perfect that I wanted to phrase the email exactly right. Like I wanted to make sure she's still interested.
Mm,
Adam, I was so important that we did several in-person auditions.
mm.
So the others I just decided online. But for Adam, we actually had maybe 3 or 4 auditions and callbacks and bringing people back and trying again. I knew that Daniel was right, Uh, but I had a team of other people, and they were all kind of deciding. And so we kept it going. And I wanted to make sure I was right. I wanted to make sure that he could do everything, and that he's likable, he's funny, he could do the angry parts, he can do the upset parts. And what's the thing about the characters, I didn't want him to be kind of like a poor sap, like feel sorry for him character. He's more of someone who's going through he's going through a phase of kind of growing up and learning things, and he's just someone that we can all relate to. He's not It's not like Revenge of the Nerds. He's just someone who's going through an awkward period, and he's just so likable and so relatable. And one of the best things I read about it, there was a film review of this, who said that he's not that there's no moment that you feel like this is an actor playing a character. He says you're looking at what you're looking at is a real person. And that was like, oh my God, that was the best compliment for him I thought that he could have gotten.
Right, a huge compliment for him and yourself and the crew you had to cast. And shout out to the actors. They really
Yeah.
did a phenomenal job. They embodied
Well,
those
thank
characters.
you.
They brought that script to life. So I'd love to wrap up this interview to ask you how you know Garden State Film Festival and what it means to have Life on Pause accepted into this festival.
Oh, it's really great. I mean, because I also am a lifelong New Jersey resident, and
Woo!
to have I've had it in New York festivals, I've had it in online festivals, but to have it here in the place that I've spent my whole life is really means a lot.
Wow, that's amazing.
Also
I'm
conveniently
so
located.
Yeah, I'm so proud that I get to meet like amazing filmmakers from Jersey, and they're constantly putting out amazing work. And I'm so happy that audiences get to see Life on Pause because I know everyone's really going to enjoy it. So congratulations! Thank you so much for bringing a short film like this to us. I wish you the best on the feature process.
Thank
And
you.
let me tell everybody how they can watch Life on Pause. It will be playing at Asbury Lane Saturday, March 26th in the film block 6 to 8 p.m. So I guess since you're from Jersey, you'll be at the screening?
I definitely will.
Awesome. You can meet Steven. That'll be amazing. Congratulations again. Thank you so much for taking some time out to talk to us.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Okay, bye bye.